Hey y'all, come on in. Welcome back. Today, let's see if we can get Mr. Calvert's belt finished up. Let me get things kind of situated here a little bit. Get you guys where you can see. We're going to finish the stitching, what I call accent stitching. I don't know if that's going to be a proper name for it or not. I don't know. Just what I call it, decorative stitching, accent stitching, whatever you want to use. See if we can get you guys situated here. I wanted to show you a couple of tools that I use, the different stitching that's available, which is up to the imagination pretty much. You can have all different colors. Like I said, just pretty much whatever you want to think about using. But I went ahead and did most of it off camera just because of the amount of time that it takes. But I want to finish the stitching, and then I'll show you how I actually terminate it on a belt. It varies from project to project. The double loop stitching on wallets and purses and things of that nature, those laces are terminated on the inside of the project, and I think I've got a video on how to do that. If I don't, again, drop me a comment, drop me an email if there's something that you want to see, that you're fixing to try, and you're not sure about it, then leave me a comment, and I'll help you with whatever I know. Now, when you're doing your stitching, let's see, they make several different tools for it. Let me get a couple of them out here. They've got this one here. See if I can get the light to not reflect on it so bad. This is a wider for your wider laces. Now this is an angle blade. I've got a straight one somewhere back there, but I wanted to show you the difference in the sizes that they've got. See if I can get these tips where you can see them, where the light doesn't reflect quite so much. You see that black one there? That's barely over half the width of that bigger one. And this is a straight blade, meaning they're not angled. I've got an angle, which I used on this particular belt. There's no, once again, I checked with the leather law authorities, and there's no law that we can find that says you have to use one or the other. The idea of this, once again, is if you can imagine it, dream it, or think it, you can pretty much put it on a piece of leather. pretty much. But I didn't do a video on stitching the whole thing, just for the simple fact that the number of hours that it takes to do this. And this is not an easy project, but it is a fun one. But you can see here that I've got just a single punch. That's all it is, just a single. And what I'll do with it is, if I need to, if one of the other chisels didn't go through well enough or anything like that, then I'll come in with this single and I'll open it up a little bit more. Or if you find that you didn't punch enough holes, you can do one or two things. I'll use my smaller angle. Let's say I punched these 4 holes here, only to discover that I'm 1 hole shy in order to get that lacing. You never want your stitching or lacing to finish on the top side, ever, because it's going to be showing. So you want to be able to pull it through and get it to finish on the back side. So let's say I'm 1 short on this one here. So all you have to do is just bring your punch over into 3 holes, and then this end chisel out here will punch your remainder hole. But you want to try to lay it out when you're doing that. You want to try to terminate on an end where you do have some extra material, so that when, for instance, if I need another hole out here, then I've got plenty of room before I get into this smaller border area. So I can come in, I can punch me 1 more hole and pull it through to the back side, and I can terminate it back there. Whereas down here on this end, this is where I started this particular run. If I tried to terminate it down here, it's going to look kind of goofy in my opinion, because the border is shrinking down pretty quick right here. So I started down here. And it's just part of it. But this, you see here, this is also part of your design, folks. This is part of your idea. This is what makes it you and makes it unique to the customer. None of this stuff is going to be identical. If you were to make another one, if I were to do this, and I've said this many times already, if I were to duplicate this belt or try to duplicate this belt, I cannot do it, because something about it is going to be different. And that's the beauty of it. It's one of a kind. There will never be another one like it ever again. So what I do with this is I'll pull it through the back side. Now what I'll do is I've got one of my modeling spoons. You can use a number of things. You can even use one of those chisels. You can use this. Go in and kind of open that hole from the back side. Because after you pulled lacing through an entire belt or a wallet, your fingertips are going to get sore, folks. But what I'll do is I'll start it back through the next hole just to keep that needle straight. The reason why I do that is I don't want to twist in my lace. And it'll pull through. And then something else that I wanted to show you is when you get it there, just give it a snug pull. Just snug. That's all you need. Now if you have one here that's still a little bit, I don't know, what do you want to call it? A little bit tight. I said in one of my other videos, go to Dollar General. I think even Kroger has them. Just get you a cheap pair of pliers. Grab hold of that needle and pull it through. That'll sure save on these fingertips. And what I'll do before I start my next hole, I'll come through with the modeling spoon. I know this one right here is going to come back through. So I'll come around on the back side and I'll kind of open it up a little bit. Doesn't take much. Just enough for that wallet, or just enough for that lacing to go through. And then I'll pull my lacing through on the back side. Now, as you can tell, maybe, hopefully you can, this is the rough side of this particular lacing. Right here is the smooth side. This is the finished side when they tan the hide. This is actually stripped or cut out of a hide of leather. There's a good contrast. Hopefully you can see that. That's the back side of that hide. Here's your finished side when they tan it. You want your finished side facing out. And I'll come in, and it's rinse and repeat. That's all we're doing. I did an angle punch on this particular style. Just because I wanted the lacing kind of running in a straight line. Now if I were to use one of those straight flat blades along here, then your lacing is going to want to try to twist a little bit and roll with you. And even that's fine. If you want a rope band effect with your lacing, then that's exactly what you want to use. Gives a pretty cool effect. All depends on what you're trying to go for. And I don't know how I've managed to do this on this particular project. This will be a first, I think, in all of my years. But I'm going to have the exact number of holes where this lace is going to finish on the back side. But I just give it a tug. Just give it a snug pull. You want to set this lacing. I'm not talking a whole lot right now because it's kind of rinse and repeat, like I said. Let me get this knocked out right quick, and what I do, if you're wondering how much lace I pull out off the spool, something else that's very important is if I'm doing a wallet and I'm doing that double back stitch, if you get the kits, they come with enough lacing in there to do it. But if I'm doing one from scratch, then and I'll pull out about 6 or 8 yards of lacing. The reason being, a spool of lacing is very inexpensive compared to the time it would take. I have to come in here, you're down to 5, 6, 7, or 8 holes to finish, only to find out that you didn't have enough lacing pulled out. There is a way to splice it, but I discourage that so much, just because most likely 9 times out of 10 your splice is going to wind up exposed on the face of your project, and I just personally hate that. So then you get to pull all of your lacing back out of it and get some more. So I pulled out, I know, way more than enough. But what you can do is, when you do a project, is you can write down the number of yards of lacing that you do pull out. And just put it in a memory bank or something. Write it down. Put a file in your computer or something like that for future reference. But for this particular belt, I only pulled out about 4 yards. All right, now that we've got that done, see here, I've got both sides of it done, and I only pulled out 4 yards of lacing for this particular belt, just because I'm only going down to a certain point where this border narrows back down. I'm not doing these areas. Now, there are belt designs where you'll go around the entire project and you'll terminate. When I'm doing that, I'll terminate up here. For instance, I'll start on this side or this side. That way I'll end either here or here. Now, if I were doing that on this belt, I'd pull out about 7, 8 yards of lacing, because this belt is on a 42-inch waist, and your lacing's got a long way to go. Now, you wouldn't think that there's going to be that much lace used in this small of an area, but keep in mind, you're going in and out each time, and that's going to chew up material. So anyway, let's get to the termination part of it, and I'll show you what I do. I've got all of my ends on the back side. I just kind of pull them snug a little bit. I'm going to get my scissors. These are also scissors that are made for leather. They're stiffer, heavier blades. You see how easy it went through that piece of leather. These are just as sharp as any of your other knives or chisels or the other stuff, so it'll go through you just as quickly. But what I'll do, let's see if I can get this piece here. I'll come in. Now, I don't want to do quite flush with it. I want to have just a little bit sticking back up. Make sure you have your fingers out of the way. And adults, you may want to do this with the kids. But I'll come in. I don't have that blade aimed towards your other lacing or your project. That's not a good thing. come through, and we just want to cut it off. I'm not going flush because I want a little bit of just a little bit of a stop sticking up, because I'm going to use some cement. I'm going to anchor that lace to the back side. I don't want that blade coming towards that other lace. Get this side over here now. When you're doing this part of it, the stitching, because it does take quite a bit of time, then I will get my favorite beverage, whatever that may be. Get your little snack if you want. This belt's already sealed, so not a whole lot's going to penetrate it right now, unless the owner does it. And I use a razor blade for these, an X-Acto blade, just so I can very much control that cut. And I want to hold not a lot of pressure on it, just a little bit, because you don't want it to pull through. But you want it to pull back a little bit, not much. All right, now that we have those all cut off, then what I'm going to do, and I've done this numerous of times over the years, they make what's called, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to bump you. They make what's called a contact cement. It's made for leather, rubber, canvas, wood, tile, metal, glass, whatever. But before, since I'm doing just a small area here, if you don't have any of that, and what I've also used over the years, I find one of my brushes is what I'm looking for, one of my disposable Kroger, wherever, Dollar General disposable brushes. Get a package of 900 of them for $1.50. Best $1.50 you could ever spend with this hobby. All right, get back up here and not bump you. Nope, bumped you anyway, didn't I? All right. And let's get the lid off of this. And with everything, I don't know why, I just shake it up for just a little bit. This contact cement does come with a brush included, but I do not use it for this because I'm working a very small area. I'll set it back. Let me get this where the light's not glaring so much. I got a little bit of gloss off of that super sheen, but it'll go away as it gets warm. But I'll come in and I'll just dab the end of that lacing. what that'll do now is it will attach to both surfaces. Not a lot, just enough to and it gets kind of stringy, so you have to kind of be aware of that part of it. But I'll come in and I'll just put a blob on it. It'll dry clear. I call it a blob. I'll use a brush simply because this brush is going to get thrown away. I use my brushes as a one-time use only. They'll never get used ever again for anything else. That's all we're doing. And it doesn't take this stuff very long to dry. What I was going to say earlier, if I don't happen to have any of this contact cement, you want to kind of use this in a little bit of a ventilated area. Because it does have some little bit of fumes to it. I mean, it's not bad. But this neoprene pad that I'm using is the one that I do all of my chiseling and stuff on. It's kind of my sacrificial. We'll come in and we'll just daub the end of it and see we've got a little bit of strings. But this will adhere to that lacing as well as the leather, and it'll help keep your stitching from pulling out. Now this is pretty good stuff. I mean, I do like it. It does adhere very well. But then if you don't have any of this, and you may laugh, you may think I'm nuts. Well, what I found is an absolute perfect substitute. Good old Gorilla Glue, wood glue. Let's do the same thing. Just get you one of those cheap brushes and daub it on there. It does dry clear. And see, I can already touch my finger to it. It's getting fairly tacky now, or almost dry, actually. Then give that a chance to dry. Now, if you use something other than a contact cement, then it may take a little bit longer. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Mr. Calvert's belt is finished. I hope he enjoys it. I certainly enjoyed making it. Hopefully you folks have gotten some ideas from it. But that's it. Mr. Calvert's belt is finished. But I wanted to, my intent, Judy and I's intent in our retirement years here is to maybe entice some kids, or moms and dads, when your kids are stuck inside and need some ideas on something to do. How much more proud would a parent be, or a grandparent be, if a child or a grandchild were to make this for them? I think it'd be worth a whole lot more to them than it will be to Mr. Calvert. Now, I'm not going to snap that back down because that's still a bit tacky. I don't want it to grab hold of that tongue. So I'll wait until it gets thoroughly dry before I re-snap that. But that's it. Next project, if you're interested, I've got some moccasins from my sister-in-law that are coming up next. Hopefully I can get that started tomorrow. And with that, this project's done. And as always, we like to end our videos with "Don't be mean, folks." If you're not willing to treat Jesus that way, then let's not treat each other that way. This is intended to inspire and have fun. So let's do it that way. And with that, we'll see y'all when we get started on the moccasins, on the layout and stuff like that. Like I said, if you have any questions or ideas or anything, then drop me an email or leave me a comment. We'll see what we can do with it. And with that, until next time, adios.